A gunshot shattered the silence just as Gabriel Russo lurched out of his wheelchair. His knees buckled immediately, but before anyone could react, a curvy woman in a Navy therapist's uniform threw herself between him and the masked assassin. The second bullet slammed into the marble pillar inches from her shoulder.
No!
Gabriel roared. The room froze. Every capo, every lawyer, every member of the Russo family stared as the woman they had spent months dismissing wrapped both arms around the feared Mafia boss, struggling with every ounce of strength to keep him from crashing to the floor. "You have to stand," she whispered through trembling breaths. "Not for them. For yourself." Another shot rang out. Security guards stormed into the grand hall while the assassin disappeared into the chaos. Gabriel's legs shook violently. "I can't," he growled. "You can," she answered, refusing to let go. "I know you can." For one impossible second, he remained standing. The entire room watched in stunned silence. No one noticed the elegant blonde woman near the front quietly backing away, her face draining of color as panic replaced confidence. Because if Gabriel Russo could stand, everything she had built on his weakness was about to collapse. 3 months earlier, the black SUV rolled through the towering iron gates of the Russo estate just after sunrise. Mila Romano looked out the window at the sprawling villa nestled among ancient olive trees. It looked less like a home and more like a fortress. Armed guards stood at every entrance. Luxury cars lined the circular driveway, and security cameras followed every movement. The driver glanced at her through the mirror. "Still time to change your mind," she smiled softly. "I've worked with stubborn patients before." "You've never worked with Gabriel Russo," Mila chuckled. "So I've been told." At 34, Mila had spent more than a decade helping patients recover from devastating injuries. She was one of Italy's most respected physical therapists, known for refusing to give up on people everyone else considered hopeless. She was also unapologetically plus size. Her beautifully curvy figure had attracted unwanted comments for most of her life. Complete strangers often assumed her appearance defined her abilities. She had learned years ago that confidence spoke louder than insults. As she stepped out of the SUV carrying her therapy bag, several mansion employees exchanged amused glances. "That's the therapist. I thought they'd hire an athlete." Another servant whispered just loudly enough. "She'll probably need therapy herself." Mila heard every word. She simply smiled. "Good morning." The kindness in her voice only seemed to confuse them. Inside the mansion, polished marble floors reflected enormous crystal chandeliers. Priceless paintings covered every wall. Power practically lived here. A sharply dressed woman descended the staircase wearing an immaculate white dress. "Miss Romano, Mila is fine." The woman's smile never reached her eyes. "I'm Valentina Moretti." She extended a perfectly manicured hand. "Gabriel's fiancé. It's nice to meet you." Valentina's gaze briefly swept over Mila's figure before returning to her face. "I do hope you're physically capable of handling this case." Mila met her eyes. "My patients have never complained." A flicker of annoyance crossed Valentina's face. "I suppose we'll see." She led Mila upstairs. "The doctors say Gabriel needs motivation." "What does Gabriel say?" "He says every therapist is useless." They stopped outside massive oak doors. Valentina lowered her voice. "If he insults you, he probably will. If he throws something, I'll move. If he fires you, I'll come back tomorrow." For the first time, Valentina looked uncertain. "You really don't quit, do you?" "No." Valentina opened the doors. The room overlooked the Italian countryside, through enormous windows. In the center sat Gabriel Russo. Even seated, he radiated authority. His wheelchair faced the window, his broad shoulders strained against a fitted black shirt left partly unbuttoned. Colorful tattoos climbed from his powerful forearms to his neck before disappearing beneath the fabric. More ink stretched across his chest, visible through the open collar, hinting at the intricate artwork, covering nearly every inch of his muscular body. Despite months confined to a wheelchair, nothing about him looked fragile. He looked dangerous. Without turning around, he spoke. "I told you not to bring another therapist." His deep voice filled the room. Valentina answered carefully. "Just meet her. I don't care if they found the Pope." He slowly turned. Dark eyes locked onto Mila. Silence stretched between them. Finally, he laughed. "They sent you?" Mila nodded. "They did." His gaze swept over her. "You expect me to believe you can help me stand? I expect you to decide that." He smirked. "No." She remained calm. "You haven't even heard my plan. I don't need one. You don't want one." His smile vanished. "I said leave." Mila walked farther into the room instead. Gabriel's eyebrows lifted. "Most people listen when I give an order." "I'm not most people." Valentina sighed dramatically. "I warned you." Gabriel picked up a hardcover book from the table and hurled it across the room. It landed at Mila's feet. "I don't repeat myself." She bent down, picked up the book, placed it neatly back on the table. Then she looked directly at him. "I've had books thrown at me before." He stared. "I've had worse." His voice turned colder. "You think I'm angry at you?" "No." "Then what am I angry at?" "Your body." The room became perfectly still. Valentina's eyes widened. No one had ever spoken to Gabriel that way. "You survived an assassination attempt," Mila continued quietly. "You lost men you trusted. You woke up unable to walk. You aren't angry because I'm here." She stepped closer. "You're angry because every morning your own legs remind you of what was taken from you." Gabriel clenched his jaw. "Get out." "I will." She reached into her bag and removed a folded sheet of paper. "My treatment schedule." She placed it on the bedside table. "I'll be here tomorrow at 9. You'll waste your trip." "I don't think so." "And why is that?" "Because despite everything you just said," she smiled warmly, "you looked at the schedule." For the first time in months, Gabriel had no response. Mila turned and walked toward the door. Behind her, Valentina lingered. "You embarrassed him," she whispered. "I told him the truth. Truth gets people killed in this house." Mila looked back once. Gabriel was still staring at the schedule. "I've never been very good at lying." As she disappeared down the hallway, Gabriel reached toward the paper, almost without thinking. He unfolded it, then frowned. At the bottom was a handwritten note. "I don't see a broken mafia boss. I see a man who forgot that strength isn't measured by pride. I'll be back tomorrow. Mila." Gabriel crumpled the note in his fist. Yet instead of throwing it away, he slipped it into the drawer beside his bed. Neither he nor Mila noticed Valentina watching from the hallway. The smile on her face had vanished completely, because for the first time since Gabriel's injury, someone had managed to reach the man she had worked so hard to keep broken. Mila arrived at the Russo estate the following morning precisely at 9. The same guards stood at the gates, but this time none of them laughed as she walked past. News traveled quickly in a house ruled by fear. Everyone had heard that she was the only therapist Gabriel Russo hadn't thrown out within 5 minutes. When she entered his room, Gabriel was already awake, staring through the floor-to-ceiling windows at the rolling vineyards beyond the estate. "You came back," he said without looking at her. "I told you I would. I thought maybe common sense would stop you. I've never confused common sense with giving up." A faint smile almost appeared on his face before it disappeared. "You really don't scare easily. I've worked with patients who were much more difficult." Gabriel finally turned toward her. "Worse than an Italian mafia boss?" "You'd be surprised." For the first time he laughed, a short, reluctant laugh that even surprised him. Valentina, standing outside the room, heard it. Her fingers tightened around the folder she was carrying. That laugh wasn't supposed to happen. Inside, Mila rolled a therapy table beside Gabriel's wheelchair. We're starting with simple mobility exercises. I'm not doing them. Fine. She sat in the chair across from him instead. Gabriel frowned. Aren't you going to argue? No. Threaten me? No. Beg? No. Then what are we doing? We're wasting your time. He narrowed his eyes. My time? Every minute you refuse therapy is another minute your muscles become weaker. Silence settled between them. Finally, Gabriel sighed. I hate you. No, Mila answered calmly. You hate that I'm right. Another reluctant smile escaped him. You're impossible. So I've been told. He reluctantly extended one arm. 5 minutes. I'll take 5. The first exercises were simple. Hand grips, shoulder movements, controlled breathing, and gentle stretches to keep his joints mobile. Gabriel completed each movement with visible frustration. His heavily tattooed arms trembled with effort. Intricate black and gray artwork covered his forearms, climbed over his shoulders, and disappeared beneath his shirt, where dragons, roses, and family crests stretched across his chest and back. The tattoos told the story of battles survived, promises made, and people lost. You've lost more strength than you think, Mila observed. I know, but not all of it. He looked away. You don't understand. Then help me understand. For several seconds he said nothing. Then, quietly, he admitted, the bullet wasn't the worst part. What was? The silence afterward. She waited. When I couldn't stand anymore, he said, the people who once waited for my approval suddenly started making decisions without asking me. His jaw tightened. I built an empire. Overnight they started treating me like a burden. You mean they stopped seeing the man? They only saw the wheelchair. Mila nodded. I know that feeling. Gabriel studied her. What do you mean? She smiled gently. People have spent my whole life deciding who I am before I've said a single word. He looked down. I did that yesterday. You did. I'm not apologizing. I didn't ask you to. Another silence. Then Gabriel quietly muttered, still. Before he could finish, the door opened. Valentina entered carrying a silver tray. I brought your recovery shake. Her smile was perfect. So thoughtful, Mila said. Valentina handed the glass to Gabriel. I had the chef prepare it exactly as the doctors instructed. Gabriel drank half of it without hesitation. Mila noticed something unusual. The smell. A faint bitter scent lingered beneath the vanilla protein mixture. What supplement is that? Mila asked. Valentina answered immediately. Extra vitamins. The prescription changed? The doctor recommended it yesterday. Mila nodded politely. I'd love to see the updated report. I'll have someone bring it later. Her answer came too quickly. After Valentina left, Mila couldn't stop thinking about the shake. Something felt wrong. The afternoon session went even better. For the first time in weeks, Gabriel managed to lift his left leg several centimeters without assistance. His breathing grew heavier. I did that. You did. I actually did that. You've made more progress today than you realize. Hope flickered across his face. It was gone within hours. By evening, Gabriel complained of dizziness. His legs felt weaker, his muscles cramped. When Mila returned the next morning, he couldn't repeat the same movement. Gabriel slammed his fist onto the wheelchair armrest. I knew it. What happened? Nothing works. It worked yesterday. Then explain this. He tried lifting his leg again. Nothing. His frustration exploded. I told you this is pointless. He grabbed a therapy band and threw it across the room. I can't keep doing this. Mila didn't flinch. Instead, she knelt beside the wheelchair. Look at me. He refused. Gabriel. Finally, he met her eyes. I believe what I saw yesterday. So do I. You lifted your leg. I know. You didn't imagine it. I know. Then something changed. He frowned. What do you mean? I don't know yet. She didn't say what she was really thinking. Healthy recovery didn't disappear overnight. Not like this. Not without a reason. Later that afternoon, Mila walked through one of the mansion's long corridors when she heard voices coming from a nearby office. She wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but one sentence made her stop. "We can't wait forever," another voice answered. "If Gabriel doesn't recover soon, the council will vote. The Empire needs a leader, and if he stays in that wheelchair—" Someone laughed quietly. "Valentina becomes the obvious choice." Mila felt a chill. She moved away before anyone noticed her. Something about the conversation didn't feel right. Why were people already discussing replacing Gabriel? Had they completely lost faith in him? Or had someone already decided he would never recover? That evening, Gabriel sat alone in the mansion's private library. Mila found him staring at an old family photograph. "You work too much," he said without looking up. "I'm your therapist." "Exactly." She sat across from him. The room remained silent for a while. Finally, Gabriel asked, "Why aren't you married?" She laughed softly. "Straight to the difficult questions? You didn't answer. I spent most of my life building a career. And some men couldn't see past my body. They were fools." She looked up, surprised. "I thought you judged me too." "I did," he sighed. "I was wrong." The admission hung between them. "I've spent years believing strength looked a certain way. And now," he looked directly into her eyes, "now, I'm starting to think I never understood strength at all." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Outside the library doors, hidden in the shadows, Valentina watched the conversation unfold. Jealousy burned behind her composed expression. She had spent months convincing Gabriel that everyone around him wanted something from him. Now a therapist had earned more of his trust in 3 days than she had managed in months. She pulled out her phone. "It's time," she whispered to someone on the other end of the call. "We need the next phase." The voice that answered was calm. "Are you sure?" Valentina's eyes remained fixed on Gabriel and Mila. "If he keeps improving." Her expression hardened. "Everything we've planned falls apart." She ended the call and slipped the phone back into her purse. No one saw her leave. No one knew that the woman promising to stand beside Gabriel for life had already begun setting in motion a betrayal far darker than anyone inside the Russo mansion could imagine. Mila barely slept that night. The bitter smell from Gabriel's recovery shake kept returning to her mind. So did the sudden reversal in his progress. Years of rehabilitation had taught her that recovery was rarely a straight line, but this felt different. His muscles responded during therapy, only to fail a few hours later. It was as though someone was pressing a reset button every evening. The next morning, she arrived earlier than usual. The mansion's kitchen was already busy. Chefs prepared breakfast, while housekeepers hurried through the halls. Mila poured herself a cup of coffee and casually looked toward the refrigerator where Gabriel's nutritional shakes were stored. Before she could move closer, Valentina walked in. "Oh," Valentina said with a pleasant smile. "You're here early. I wanted to review Gabriel's meal plan. I've already handled it." "I'd still like to look." "There isn't anything to look at." For a split second, their eyes locked. Valentina smiled first. "You're very dedicated. I take my patients seriously." "So do I." Without another word, Valentina picked up 2 prepared bottles and walked away. Mila noticed something else this time. One bottle had a tiny scratch near the cap. The other didn't. She quietly wrote the detail in her notebook. Therapy that afternoon pushed Gabriel harder than ever. Sweat rolled down his tattooed arms as he gripped the parallel bars. His entire body shook. "One more step," Mila encouraged. "I can't. You can." "My legs are burning." "That means they're working," he growled through clenched teeth. "I hate these bars. I know. I hate this room. I know. I hate needing help. I know." He looked at her with exhausted eyes. Then why do you keep smiling? Because I can already see the man you're becoming. He stared at her. I'm the same man. No. She stepped closer. The man before the shooting believed strength meant never depending on anyone. And now you're learning that accepting help isn't weakness. He lowered his eyes. My father would have called it weakness. Maybe your father was wrong. His breathing slowed. You know, he managed a tired smile. You're the first person who's ever dared say that. I'm also the first therapist you didn't fire. That earned another laugh. Each laugh seemed to surprise him more than anyone else. He lifted his right foot, then his left. Only a few centimeters, but it was progress. Real progress. Mila's heart lifted, until evening came. By dinner, Gabriel could barely move again. His hands trembled. His speech became sluggish. He looked pale. This doesn't make sense, Mila whispered. Gabriel slammed his fist against the armrest. I told you. No, she shook her head firmly. I refuse to believe your body changes this much in 6 hours. He looked at her. What are you saying? I'm saying someone, or something, is interfering. Before Gabriel could answer, Valentina entered carrying his evening shake. Your nutrition. Mila watched carefully. This time, she stopped Gabriel before he drank. May I see it? Valentina's smile froze. Why? I just want to check the ingredients. You don't trust me? I trust science. The room became painfully quiet. Valentina handed over the bottle. Mila unscrewed the cap. Again. That faint, bitter smell. Different from every recovery supplement she had ever used. She didn't accuse anyone. Not yet. Instead, she handed it back. Thank you. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Mila searched online medical journals from her room in the guest wing. Several medications used to suppress nerve pain listed side effects that matched Gabriel's symptoms. Combined improperly, they could leave a patient weak, dizzy, and unable to make progress in rehabilitation. She closed the laptop. I need proof, she whispered. The opportunity came sooner than expected. The following afternoon, one of the household staff accidentally dropped a tray in the hallway. The loud crash drew nearly everyone toward the noise, including Valentina. For the first time all week, Gabriel's bedroom stood empty. Mila stepped inside. She wasn't looking for money or secrets, only answers. She opened the cabinet where the prescribed medications were kept. Everything looked organized, almost too organized. She compared the labels with the dosage chart she'd been given. Something didn't match. One bottle carried Gabriel's name. The pills inside were the wrong color. Her pulse quickened. Just then, the bedroom door opened. Mila spun around. An older man wearing a white medical coat stood there. Dr. Lorenzo Bianchi, Gabriel's personal physician. For a tense second, neither spoke. Finally, the doctor sighed. You noticed. Mila slowly nodded. These aren't the medications listed in his chart. No. Who changed them? The doctor's face filled with shame. I did. Her heart sank. You? I didn't have a choice. What does that mean? He closed the door behind him. They threatened my family. Mila stared at him. If I refused, my wife and daughter would have paid the price. Who threatened you? He hesitated, then quietly answered, Valentina. Silence filled the room. Mila searched his face for any sign of deception. There was none. Tears formed in the doctor's eyes. I became a doctor to save lives. His voice broke. Instead, I've spent months helping destroy one. Mila took a slow breath. Tell me everything. Over the next 20 minutes, the truth unfolded piece by piece. Valentina had ordered the medications switched. She instructed the kitchen staff to prepare special recovery shakes that secretly counteracted Gabriel's rehabilitation. Medical reports were rewritten before reaching the family. Every small improvement disappeared from the official records. The Russo council believed Gabriel's condition was steadily worsening, exactly as Valentina wanted. Why? Mila asked. The doctor's answer was immediate. Power. That evening, Gabriel sat alone in the mansion's private chapel. Mila found him staring at a row of burning candles. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he said. "I found something." He looked up. "What?" She sat beside him. "I need you to answer one question honestly." "I will. Do you trust me?" Without hesitation, Gabriel answered, "Yes." The single word hit Mila harder than she expected. 3 weeks earlier, he wouldn't even let her enter the room. Now he trusted her completely. She looked into his eyes. "I believe someone has been sabotaging your recovery." He frowned. "You mean my enemies?" "I mean someone inside this house." Gabriel's expression darkened. "That's impossible. I wish it were." She carefully explained everything she had discovered. The medications, the altered reports, the doctor's confession. Gabriel listened without interrupting. When she finished, he stood silent for several seconds. Then he whispered, "If this is true..." "It is. I've been fighting the wrong battle. You've been fighting 2 battles. His jaw tightened. One against your injury, and the other, the people pretending they wanted you to heal. Gabriel slowly closed his eyes. For the first time since the assassination attempt, he cried. Not loudly, not dramatically, just silent tears rolling down the face of a man who had survived countless wars but never imagined betrayal would come from within his own home. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Mila looked at him. "For what?" "For the way I treated you. You were hurting. I judged you before I knew you." She smiled gently. "And now?" He reached for her hand. "I know exactly who you are." Their eyes met. Neither noticed the small security camera hidden above the chapel doorway. Miles away, in a luxury penthouse overlooking Milan, a mysterious man watched the live feed. He smiled coldly. "So," he murmured, swirling a glass of whiskey, "the therapist has become a problem." He picked up his phone and dialed a number. "Finish this before the council meeting." "What about Valentina?" the voice on the other end asked. The man smiled. "If she fails." His smile disappeared. "She's expendable too." The call ended. Back at the Russo estate, neither Gabriel nor Mila realized that exposing one conspiracy had uncovered an even more dangerous enemy. Someone powerful enough to manipulate events from the shadows and willing to eliminate anyone who threatened the plan. Gabriel did not sleep that night. He sat alone in his study long after the rest of the mansion had gone quiet, replaying every conversation he had shared with Valentina since the day he woke up in the hospital. Every reassuring smile, every promise that she would never leave him. Every time she had insisted he rest instead of train. One memory haunted him more than the others. A week after the assassination attempt, he had managed to move his right foot for the first time. Valentina had smiled, kissed his forehead, and said, "Don't push yourself. You'll only make the injury worse." The next morning, he had lost all movement again. At the time, he believed it was bad luck. Now, he wondered if it had ever been luck at all. A knock interrupted his thoughts. Mila stepped inside. "You should be resting." "So should you." She smiled faintly. "I have something." She placed a small recorder on the desk. "I asked Dr. Bianchi to tell the truth one more time." Gabriel pressed play. The doctor's trembling voice filled the room. "I changed Mr. Russo's medications under orders from Valentina Moretti. She threatened my family. Every report sent to the Russo Council was altered to make Gabriel appear weaker than he really was." The recording ended. Silence filled the room. Gabriel slowly closed his eyes. "I loved her." Mila didn't answer. "There were nights I believed she was the only person who stayed because she cared." His voice cracked. "But she stayed because she needed me broken." Mila rested a comforting hand on his shoulder. You survived her. No. He looked at her with quiet certainty. I survived because you refused to give up on me. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Gabriel reached for the parallel bars installed in his private therapy room. I want to train. It's almost midnight. I've lost enough time. For the next 2 hours, he pushed himself harder than ever before. His tattooed arms strained as he lifted his weight. His legs trembled violently. He fell once, then again. Each time, Mila helped him back up. I can't, he gasped after another painful collapse. She knelt in front of him. Look at me. He did. When I first arrived here, everyone looked at me and decided what I couldn't do. He nodded. They saw my body before they saw my heart. A tear slipped down her cheek. I refused to let them decide who I was. She squeezed his hand. Don't let your injury decide who you are. Gabriel inhaled deeply. Then, with every remaining ounce of determination, he pushed upward again. His knees shook. His muscles screamed. 1 second. 2. 5. He was standing. No support. No wheelchair. Only his own strength. His eyes filled with tears.
I did it!
Mila laughed through her own tears.
You did!
Without thinking, Gabriel wrapped his arms around her. Thank you. She hugged him back. You earned this. The next morning, the Grand Council of the Russo family gathered inside the estate's magnificent hall. Capos from across Italy filled the room. Lawyers, business partners, trusted advisors. The atmosphere was heavy. At the front stood Valentina, dressed elegantly in black. She addressed the room with practiced confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, Gabriel's condition continues to decline. She gestured toward several medical reports. Our physicians agree he is permanently incapable of leading the Russo organization. Murmurs spread through the crowd. One elderly capo sighed. Then we must appoint new leadership. Valentina lowered her eyes, pretending to be emotional. I never wanted this responsibility. The massive wooden doors suddenly opened. Every head turned. Mila walked inside carrying a folder. Several people whispered, "The therapist, what is she doing here?" Valentina smiled coldly. "This meeting is private." Mila continued walking. "I know." She stopped beside the long conference table. "But the truth belongs here." Valentina laughed. "You're just the fat therapist." A few nervous chuckles echoed through the room. Mila didn't react. Instead, she calmly placed photographs, laboratory reports, financial records, and the audio recording on the table. "I'd like everyone to hear this." The recording played. Dr. Bianchi's confession echoed through the hall. Faces changed. Shock replaced confidence. One by one, the council members stared at Valentina. She shook her head desperately. "He's lying." Before anyone could respond, a deep voice filled the room. "No." Every eye shifted toward the entrance. Gabriel Russo stood there, not in a wheelchair, on his own feet. His black suit fit perfectly over his broad, tattooed frame. Ink climbed above his collar and disappeared beneath the crisp fabric, reminding everyone exactly who he had always been. The hall fell completely silent. One step, then another. Gabriel walked steadily across the marble floor until he reached Mila. He stopped beside her. Without hesitation, he took her hand. His voice carried through the room. "The strongest person in this family," he looked at Mila, "was never me." He turned back toward the council. "It was the woman. Every one of you underestimated." Many lowered their eyes in shame. Gabriel faced Valentina. "You didn't betray a weak man." He took another step closer. "You betrayed the man who trusted you most." Valentina's composure finally broke. "You don't understand!" "I understand enough. You would have lost everything." "I almost did." She backed away. "I did it for us. You did it for yourself." The doors opened once more. Officers from Italy's Financial Crimes Unit entered alongside uniformed police. acting on evidence Dr. Bianchi had already delivered through his attorney. Valentina looked around desperately. No one moved to help her. As the officers escorted her away, she looked at Gabriel one last time. "You'll regret choosing her," Gabriel answered calmly. "No." He squeezed Mila's hand. "My greatest mistake was not trusting her sooner." Valentina disappeared through the doors. The hall remained silent. An elderly capo slowly stood. He bowed his head toward Mila. "On behalf of this family," he paused, "we owe you an apology." One by one, others followed. The servants who had whispered about her appearance, the advisors who had dismissed her, even the guards at the entrance. Not because she had demanded respect, because she had earned it through compassion, courage, and unwavering integrity. 6 months later, the Russo estate felt different. Laughter replaced suspicion. The rehabilitation center Gabriel funded for victims of violent crime had opened its doors, with Mila serving as its director. Patients came from across Italy, not because they had heard about her appearance, but because they had heard about her extraordinary ability to help people believe in themselves again. Gabriel continued training every morning. He still carried scars from the assassination. Some days his legs ached. Some days memories returned. But he never faced those battles alone. One evening, they stood together on a terrace, overlooking the vineyards, as the sun dipped below the hills. "You know," Gabriel said with a smile, "everyone feared my tattoos because they thought they represented power." Mila looked at the intricate ink climbing his neck. "What do they represent?" He intertwined his fingers with hers. "Survival." She smiled warmly. "I think they represent something else now." "And what's that?" "Hope." Gabriel laughed softly. "I like your version better." She rested her head against his shoulder. For the first time in a long time, neither of them was thinking about betrayal, pain, or revenge. Only the future. If this story reminded you that true strength is measured by character rather than appearances, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Sometimes the people the world underestimates become the very ones who change someone else's life forever. And as the lights of the Russo estate glowed against the Italian night, Gabriel and Mila walked forward together. Not because the road ahead would be easy, but because they had finally found someone worth walking beside.